Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here for our August Anti-Hate, Anti-Bias Task Force. And I hope everybody's sort of enjoying that last slide to summer. It's shocking to me that kids are going back to school next week, but we're doing, and I'll talk a little bit later about a lot of the work we're doing to get ready as kids head back to school and to the college campuses. I first want to mention an incident that took place since we last met. Some of you may have read about this incident. The First Congregational Church and Christ Lutheran Church in Natick both experienced acts of vandalism. Their pride flags and the banners supporting LGBTQIA plus and mental health were torn down. And they weren't just removed, but they were replaced with Christian flags and banners, which declared, and I quote, "Jesus is the King." And anonymous letters with interpretations of scripture relating to those flags that have been torn down were also left at both locations. Awful, terrible, totally the opposite of what we strive for here is to make sure that people feel that they belong. But what was remarkable was the community response. Both churches quickly restored the original display. The congregational members gathered to reaffirm their commitment to inclusivity and bless the restored flags, emphasizing a message of love and acceptance. And we have not been able to identify suspects for those. They've examined whatever video there might be. Obviously, it happened in the dark of night, but we continue to investigate that. But, again, as I mentioned, it's not just these individual communities that are targeted. It is the societal values of tolerance and acceptance that fall victim to these kinds of acts and really highlight the need to continue the work that we're doing here, the dialogue and the education to combat hate and bias. We continue to see in a related piece, the Anti-Defamation League continuing to report a significant increase in anti-Semitic incidents across New England. Massachusetts has had a dramatic rise in harassment and vandalism. And next month, we're going to be talking some more about how churches and faith-based organizations can be protecting themselves both before and after they find themselves targets. So today we have several important topics that are very timely as we enter into the presidential election season, which is, as everybody knows, is going to be a race, roughly 70 days. We want to talk about that. We want to talk about voter registration and about immigration. And we're going to begin by focusing on the importance of voter registration, which is, of course, the first step in participating in democracy and in ensuring that everybody's voice is heard in the election. Tuesday, as you can see from Alan's background, Tuesday, September 17th, is National Voter Registration Day, which is a nonpartisan civic holiday held annually to encourage people to vote, to register and to participate in voting. And we're going to learn today how to create, sponsor, and hold a voter registration drive. Since it began its work 12 years ago now in 2012, National Voter Registration Day has registered over 5 million Americans. And if you think of what's happened in the margins we've seen in a lot of our elections in the last few years, 5 million people is an enormous number if they not only register, but then get out to vote. Third-party voter registration drives have increased participation, especially among young people, people of color, and other underrepresented groups. And the upcoming presidential election, as we've seen both through the Republican and the Democratic conventions, has intensified the debates around immigration. Candidates are frequently offering very different visions as to how that should be addressed. And it shows both the contentious nature of this debate and the significance it has to voters. And wherever people decide to exercise their vote, it's important that they have accurate information about immigration so that they vote in an informed manner and they understand the impact these policies can have on their communities as well as the country as a whole. Locally, the Healey administration has been encouraging migrant families to consider relocating out of Massachusetts because our shelters have reached capacity. And this reflects that broader challenge of accommodating an increasing number of immigrants and the need for effective resource management. And particularly, and it's become a real target, I think, on both sides for the election around housing. Because if people are going to stay, we have to have places for people to live. It's certainly not appropriate for anybody to be living long term, even in the best of shelters. We have to have families where they can thrive. We've got to get kids in school, do all of that piece. We will, however, in Massachusetts, be opening a new overflow shelter in Fort Point. That initiative is part of the attempt by the state to address that capacity issue and to give some temporary accommodations. And in a related piece, you may have seen that the federal judge in Boston has significantly narrowed the scope of the lawsuit, which involves that 2022 incident where migrants were flown to Martha's Vineyard. And that legal development really highlights the ongoing debate and challenges that continue and are going to be being acted out in these days leading up to the election in the federal courts. Migrants, even with work permits, are facing barriers to employment, delaying their entry into the workforce. And it really shows that we need policies in that area to streamline the employment process, which would benefit, frankly, both migrants and their families as well as local economies. If you've traveled to any sort of resort or beach communities this summer, you've seen lots of places that really have lots of jobs that haven't been filled. We know that in many of our care facilities, there are lots of jobs that are not being filled. Anti-immigration policies and rhetoric can really exacerbate the hate and bias. They can affect the health and the integration of immigrants and refugees. And having an awareness and being willing to advocate for fair policies is really necessary. Our UMass Amherst recent poll indicates that 1 in 5 Americans, so 20%, agree with negative sentiments about migrants, yet still supports the idea that racial and ethnic diversity is a national strength. So it really demonstrates how complex this issue is and how complicated people's feelings can be, and perhaps a lack of understanding of what it is that we're really discussing in some of these questions. So it's our hope that today's speakers will give you a deeper understanding of the immigration and refugee process, the support networks that we need to really integrate people into our communities, and also, again, encouraging you to, first of all, get educated, but then to participate in the process, the voting process. So we're going to begin with, as I mentioned, Alan Blackwell, who's the partnership coordinator for the nonprofit Vote. And Alan is, as you can tell, is really a passionate voter participation and engagement advocate. His career, which spans over 2 decades in public and nonprofit sectors, has been dedicated to bringing about a more just and equitable society. He brings a wealth of experience as well as his commitment to empowering various communities to participate in the democratic process. And he's demonstrated really a tireless dedication to promoting voter registration and engagement. He served as a chief election judge and manager for voter registration drives, in addition to working on a number of other civic projects. He works very hard to forge partnerships and alliances between corporations, government, and citizens to advance that mission of getting more people participating in elections so we have a more vibrant democracy. And before becoming involved 12 years ago with Vote, Alan served as the Homeless and Foster Care Operations Director for the Baltimore City Public Schools. So Alan, welcome.
Marian, thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for attending today. Oh, sorry. Very much appreciative of the opportunity. If you give me 1 second, I'll open my slides. Once again, my name is Alan Blackwell. I am the partnership coordinator for National Voter Registration Day. Our holiday is on September 17th, so save the date. You should see a lot of social media and community-based activations on that day. So we're very much looking forward to your participation in any form that you can. First, I want to thank some of our sponsors. Our sponsors really help to fund our grants and initiatives that we do. This year in particular, we are distributing posters and stickers for free, and that's free for the community partners. However, the cost is covered by our sponsors who make sure that we can get these materials out to everyone, and also our materials are in multiple languages. So let me tell you a little bit about National Voter Registration Day in particular. First and foremost, we're a nonpartisan holiday. Our board is led by both a Democratic and Republican Secretary of State. So we're in a fortunate position where we do have representation from both political parties who give insight on the best way to communicate and connect with communities. Second, it is a partner-driven holiday. In perspective, we have roughly about 150 corporate partners, and we have this year expectations close to 5,000 community-based organizations that are participating. And those organizations start as small as like a high school political action committee. Some schools are really just trying to mobilize and activate their students. And it can be as big as like the League of Women Voters, which have thousands of members across the entire country, who also utilize our resources to make sure that they get people out activated and ready to vote. And then we create specific materials and tools for organizations. So if your organization is looking for something specific, such as we created guides around like voting in each state. So we have state guides. We also have materials for specific communities. So let's say you have a large immigrant population that you want to reach out to. I know that they can't vote, but you may want to just inform them on the process, or more so naturalized citizens, informing them of their rights. We do have materials around that group in particular. Some of the materials that we've released this year. So we have redesigned our website. So if you've ever gone to our website, I would say last year in comparison to this year, it's more user friendly. We really have updated it to make sure that it's accessible and that it's really you're able to find the materials that you're looking for as quick as possible. We've also redesigned our posters. Our posters for this year, and you can see on the left-hand side, we do put a QR code on there to make sure that people are able to register. When they do use that QR code, they will go to vote.gov, which will give them access directly to a trusted registration site. And in addition to that, if you see in the local info, that gives you space to put your local events and activations. All of our materials are both in print and digital. So if you want to update it, and let's say you want to add your information to this, we do have a Canva link on our website where you can download this and insert your organization's activation directly on the document or directly on the poster and be able to print that out for your own records. And if you want us to send you these posters so that you can post them up around, we do have that ability. You just sign up as a community partner through our website. Next, we do have communication and social media toolkits. So we have developed some specific tools around these two groups. So if you want to do some activations, and if you're not familiar with National Voter Registration Day, one of our strengths is really our social media presence. So if you get an opportunity, go to and check out our Instagram, our Twitter, and you'll get to see that we are very much we're on the pulse of the conversations that happen. So in particular around Olympics, all of our activation or all of our promotions were Olympic based. And now that we're entering the election season, a lot of our publications are around like how do you mobilize voters and how do you get them activated and most importantly, educated. We do create fact sheets specifically for different groups so you can see the different groups in which we've developed those fact sheets for this year. And then we also host several webinars. I think at this point we're at 10. And we have about 2 more or 3 more to go between now and National Voter Registration Day, which is a great opportunity for you to kind of get best practices, updated information, and access to additional partners if you're looking to connect with some partners in your community. In particular, one of the things that I focus on is building relationships between partner organizations. So if you have a small group of people, maybe let's say 5, and you're looking to connect with a larger organization, we can help facilitate that so that you can move as a collective. One thing about National Voter Registration Day that we focus on a lot is that it is a day of fun and activation. So it's to be inclusive. The more inclusive it is, the more fun it is. We find that, connecting communities is really a strong point for this day, and it's really something we lean into. So as I said before, our goals for this year. So our original goal was 100 premier partners. We're at 150. So we're roughly we're 50% over our limit and pretty much will maybe hit 200 in the pace we're moving. Right now, our goal for this year was 4,500. We're 90% there. We just cleared 4,000 a couple of days ago. In particular, one of our strengths is we're not even into the hot season for registration. The last month is really where we pick up the majority of our registrations. And a large part of that is also an understanding that people are really not engaged until about now, right? And especially as schools close, excuse me, as schools open and families are home in the evenings more, there's more access to information and really can benefit them. And then last but not least, we're looking to register 750,000 people this year. We surpassed all of our expectations over the last 4 years. So this is very realistic for us. So gearing up for the holiday, what can you do? So if you look at our map, this is currently where all of our registrations are occurring. So you can see we're pretty much across the country. We're in all 50 states as of right now. So, 49 states. We're not in North Dakota because North Dakota doesn't have voter registration day. However, but every other state does. We're also in territories, and this year in particular, we focused a lot on citizens abroad and military participants. So we do a lot of activations around bases and really where soldiers are from the United States across the country, and how do we get them engaged and activated for National Voter Registration Day, and most importantly, get them out to vote. Some of the strengths of being a community partner with us, first and foremost, is a trusted position. You really are the face of National Voter Registration Day. That connection is really where the strength comes in. So that connection to community matters. Also, the outreach in which you do, right? The ability to know where to go and who to talk to is really a strength of the community partner, and we lean into supporting that. You have the local knowledge, right? One thing I'm learning and following the current political climate is that, Minnesota in particular with Governor Walz has a lot of nuances that make Minnesota unique. It's really that uniqueness that we want to lean into, and that's what you bring to the table, is that unique ability to communicate in a language in which the people respond to. We also have a broad network, so we work across different organizations. One of the things, back to building that inclusion, is that we love to bring in different organizations that are working towards a common cause, but maybe disconnected at different points because maybe their agendas are different, that we, on this day in particular, can really synergize that energy and really bring that all into one place. That, no matter if you're an Islamic organization and a Jewish organization, if you're celebrating National Voter Registration Day, that's a day to come together. Or if you're a Christian organization, maybe a non-denominational organization, that you can really use this as a day of building that relationship and that connection. And then last but not least, the community roots aspect, that it is really a day of reflection and a day of showcasing the strength of community, right? It represents the best of who we are because it represents community. So how do we support you? First and foremost, we do send out all of our posters and stickers to community partners. So if you sign up as a community partner on our website, you will receive the posters and stickers for free. We do offer both a print and digital copy. Just on this call alone, I'll let you know that the closing date for sending out those posters is September 3rd. So it's not a lot of time. So if you would like those materials, please sign up as soon as possible so that you can receive them. If you go on our website, we have our fact sheets and webinars and additional toolkits that are specific to groups. So if you're working with government officials, which this year in particular, we're focusing on a lot on local government and food banks, there's materials built directly for those groups and organizations. If you're looking for press, right, you want to be able to share this day with your local media and use it as, and one thing we've seen over the years is really the importance of local organizations speaking to National Voter Registration Day. So if your organization would like to get some publicity out there or really connect with some social media or local media or traditional media sources, you can use our materials to uplift your day and use that as a catalyst for that connection. And then last but not least, this year we had 3 separate grants that we were able to fund, one around community colleges, another one around AAPI organizations, and another one for our general events fund grant. These were all funded by our sponsors and really were helpful in making sure that we can support voter registration drives on different locations. So 6 rules for being a community partner, right? The first thing is National Voter Registration Day is nonpartisan, right? You're not here to tell people who to vote for. You're here to get people to register to vote. That's the big thing. It's inclusive, that we are a day of inclusivity. The strength of National Voter Registration Day is everyone's invited. It's not an exclusive party for a small group. It's really a large party for everyone. That you're informed about your state laws. So we do have those state guides that we work with the Fair Election Center to create, but also that you, as the trusted partner and really connecting with the community, know exactly what is applicable to your environment in your state, and being able to share that, because quite often what you find is that you're the trusted source that's very knowledgeable and people will listen to you. So, making sure that your dates and information are accurate, that it's non-transactional, that it's not quid pro quo. You're not giving somebody to get something. So if you have our stickers, we give our stickers out. We always love to share our stickers with youth, really to use as an empowerment tool. And as a person who works in the election space, I know the importance of I voted sticker. Quite often we laugh that is the most important part of voting, because people will miss all the steps in between. But if you miss the sticker, there's a problem. So using that as kind of a catalyst versus a transaction. Also, on the day of, you can use the hashtag Vote Ready and hashtag National Voter Registration Day to uplift your event, and also so that we can support in sharing that information out. So if you're doing something great and you put the hashtag Vote Ready on National Voter Registration Day, we'll pull that information, include it in our publications. And then last but never least, have fun, right? It's a day of celebration. It is not a somber moment. Voting is a beautiful, a beautiful privilege for all of us to really lean into, and using that day as a day to inspire and energize people is a great opportunity. So how can partners use our materials to make the day successful? Excuse me. First and foremost, use the posters to share across your office and events. The poster is really a direct way in which people, if they don't speak to you directly, they can scan the poster on their own time and use that material to register to vote. We also ask, if you're in a location where you can leave the poster up, leave it up, because it still is applicable after National Voter Registration Day. People can register to vote within their own communities even after the day. That you host a voter registration host a voter registration drive on NVRD. So using that day as kind of a launch point for your organization, right? Or a day in which you can really solidify how much you're connected to the community and show that you're a part of a national collective. Also using it as a cross promotion. So, highlighting the work that you do and making sure that you use the hashtag so that we can uplift it. Our organization in particular really oversees the holiday, and the work of the holiday is really the community partner. And then participate in our webinars. Our next webinar, which is around the state guides, is our partnership with the Fair Election Center. We'll talk specifically about how the guides were created and the purpose of them and how they can be used. And then on September 11th, we have another webinar that's on. It's last minute. I don't have everything together. What can I do, right? We'll do a training around how you can take whatever you have on hand and make it work for you, and how you can take the materials that we have digitally and use them even if you miss the deadline. And then last, utilizing key resources such as our state-by-state guide. Once again, we have a lot of resources. I implore everyone here to go on our website and really go through all the different materials we have and see what's applicable for you and your organization. So to give a brief overview of our state-by-state guides, this is our partnership with the Fair Election Center. Really created a guide for every state. It goes over new policies, new legislation that was passed, some things to look out for. In particular, if your state like Texas, you need to have passed various steps before you can do voter registration drives, that you've done all those things so that you can be in compliance with your state and local municipalities as far as elections. And that also you're giving people the ability to register to vote, and that goes through. Sometimes people, and I'm gonna say in the past, some people have not followed the process correctly and have really lost out on the opportunity because of not knowing those different steps. So it's important that, you use our state guides to kind of know what's the exact use for your state. Some key dates to remember. So as I said earlier, our webinar for our state guides is on August 28th. Our last minute NVRD one, our training, excuse me, is on September 11th. All these will be sent out in a PDF, so you can click on the links and register. National Voter Registration Day is on September 17th. And then this is just some of our previous webinars that we've held over the last several months. And then on the right-hand side, we'll give you access to click on our webinar calendar and register for all the different webinars, and also to access the old webinars that you may have missed. These are some additional key resources that we have that you can go to our website and look through our communications plan. So we give talking points, sample press kits, and then some tips and tactics that you can use to help build that outreach. With that said, this is the QR code so that you can register or go on our site and register as a community partner. It's very simple. It roughly takes between 1 and 5 minutes to do, pretty short. And we try to make it as easy as possible. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@nationalvoterregistrationday.org. The great thing is it's the whole name. So if it, for whatever reason, kicks back, it's probably just a misspelling. So if that happens, please feel free to reach out. And with that said, I want to thank you again, Marion, for having me. And I thank you again for your participation in National Voter Registration Day.
Thank you. And I'll have no trouble remembering. It's actually my wedding anniversary, so I was pretty psyched. So it's a great day. Anybody have any questions for Alan?
Marianne, this is Catherine.
Catherine.
I do.
Yeah.
Alan, thank you. This is fantastic. I'm wondering what your advice or what your organization does with people who think they're registered but have been unenrolled.
I appreciate that. That's a great question. So National Voter Registration Day, we always focus on the register and the vote part, but this, I would say the larger portion of it is actually getting people to check their registration. So the link that I shared before, they can actually go on there and check to see if they're registered. And if they're not registered, they can register through the link. We also implore in certain states to use your state Secretary of State website, because that will give them more direct information to follow up on. And then last but never least, if we do send out stickers that have a QR code on them. I unfortunately don't have one right by me, but it has a QR code that when you share that out with them, they can check again on their own time. So we try to find at least 2 ways in which they can connect, so they can use the QR code on the poster, or if they just want to do it on their own time, they can use the QR code on the sticker. And then we always share out just, having them check their registration.
That's fantastic. Is that QR code on your website?
Yes.
Okay, I got it then. Thank you. Thanks so much.
No, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. And we're going to make slides available to people, so you'll have all of this. And I agree with you totally about the stickers. I feel like I haven't actually voted unless I get my sticker. So it's such a big part of the day. So thank you so much for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, turning to the different part, additional piece that I said we would talk about. Our next speaker is Stephanie Rosario Rodriguez, who is an experienced program manager with expertise in human and social services at the international level. And she's really got proven results for creating solutions, changing existing systems, and building pathways for people to access skills and advance their social and economic well-being. Stephanie has facilitated learning communities focused on different topics for nonprofits, state, and national institutions around the globe. She holds a master's degree in education, community, arts, and education, and is an advocate for what we talked about: affordable housing, criminal justice reform, and access to quality education. As the Senior Director of Programs Manager, Stephanie oversees the Immigrant Assisted Service Program, in addition to membership, citizenship, and training. And, as we turn it over to Stephanie, I just want to also thank so many of our partners who are here and who are from many of our communities that have really worked so hard to deal with new arrivals. And particularly, I see Chief Cronin's here from Malden. Malden is one of the most diverse cities in our state, certainly in our county. And the chief has really done a great job of helping to bring people together and address a lot of these issues that Stephanie's going to be talking about. So Stephanie, we're delighted to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm going to be sharing my screen as well. So thank you for that introduction. As mentioned, my name is Stephanie Rosario Rodriguez, and I am the Senior Director of Programs at the MIRA Coalition. We are, it stands for the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, but we largely go by MIRA. And who are we? Well, we are currently the largest coalition in New England, aimed at centering the rights and integration of immigrants and refugees in our Commonwealth. We have offices here in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and our main focus is around education and training, community organizing, strategic communications, policy analysis, and advocacy on the state and federal level. We also do a number of direct service programs, which I will be sharing as well. We are a coalition of over 140 organizations across the state of Massachusetts, and this includes, it's very much like this group, it includes resettlement agency, community-based organizations, legal providers, healthcare providers, social service providers, human rights advocates, faith-based organizations, and more, labor unions. So we really are consistently growing, and this group of organizations is really centering working with immigrants and refugees on a variety of levels. In terms of direct services, we offer a number of services that we have been growing over the last few years. One of our largest programs right now is the Citizenship Program, where we offer free citizenship help for any legal or permanent resident that requires it. Our Immigrant Assistance Services Program has just been renewed for a second year, which I will talk a lot about that. But that's helping families that are residing in EA shelters here in Massachusetts apply for work authorization and other limited legal services as well. Our new American Integrations Program, that's our AmeriCorps program. So we also place up to 28 AmeriCorps members across community-based organizations each year. And these members are providing either citizenship support, ESOL, or job readiness training to immigrants all over Commonwealth. We are also actively recruiting any legal permanent residents or immigrant communities to come be a part of our program as well, so they can better kind of serve the communities that they are a part of. And then we've recently launched this year the Immigration Advocate Legal Helpline. We used to get a lot of inquiries from service providers all over the state with a lot of immigration questions, and some of them were very straightforward, and some of them were quite complex. You know, it might just be, what is the process for immigration? So we developed a helpline to really help service providers get answers for some of these questions, and we'll talk a little bit more about each of these programs in depth. Our citizenship program is centered around providing education to communities, so people that are going through the immigration process, getting them ready, helping them complete the application, helping them complete any fee waivers that they are eligible for. And we do these often one-on-one in our offices, so people can come. We help them in a variety of languages, however is best suited for them. Or we work with community-based organizations and we do citizenship clinics where we meet a lot of people in a group setting, and they're each paired one by one with the volunteer who's helping them complete the application. We have an upcoming one in Lowell, Massachusetts. I believe that is with the Center of Hope and Healing. I'm very excited for. Lowell is my hometown. We have an upcoming one in Chelsea as well with La Colaborativa, and one in Brockton that is still in the works. So if you have anyone that could benefit from some services, you don't have to reside in these towns to meet to attend one of these. We are also piloting citizenship clinics in New Hampshire. We recently had our first one in Nashua, which is very exciting. And we really think that that is going to help get some immigrant communities engaged in the process of the civic engagement. So there's no shortage of ways to contact the citizenship team. You know, I will be sharing these slides as well. But they take inquiries either by phone, text, email, so don't hesitate to reach out or share that information. We also help individuals with their DACA renewals. So for any deferred action childhood arrivals that are in need of either speaking to an immigration attorney because their case is too complex, or if they need help navigating the systems, gathering their documents, we are here to help them do that application as well. In previous years, when funding was available, we would also help young people pay for the cost of their application fee. And for many of them, that tends to be quite a large a barrier. In the Immigrant Assistance Services Program, this is probably right now one of the largest programs and is a collaborative effort with 16 community-based organizations. This program originally launched last year as a pilot, where we received a $1.75 million grant from the Office of Refugee and Immigrants to serve families that were currently residing in EA shelters. Over the last few years, as we all know, we've seen an increase of families coming and being in shelters, and we're trying to help them apply for work authorization. So that was a big central focus of this work, and it worked with shelters that were in partnership both with ORI and EOHLC. And then the community-based organizations and the legal providers that we partnered with would go to these shelters, and they would provide intake, case management services, helping them with benefit connections, helping with change of venues, change of addresses for anyone that has an upcoming immigration court hearing. We would also help them apply for temporary protective status if they were eligible. And we would also help them apply for their work authorization as well for anyone that is eligible. A small subset of these families received assistance with a pro se asylum. So an attorney helped draft up their asylum application for them and answered any questions that they might have. And all of these families that went through the IAS program received a consultation with a licensed immigration attorney and met with a case manager who assessed them for all of their needs and all of their benefits. And at the time that we were running this program, it was largely in hotels and motels, which were either unstaffed or at the time staffed by the National Guard. And this program, I'm really excited to announce that as of this year, as of last Friday, really, we have been awarded a $1.8 million grant to continue this work, which we're very excited for. In our first year, we reached just shy of 1,000 families. I so eagerly wanted to meet those 6 more to make it an even 1,000, but this year we're set to far exceed that, as we already have like a really strong infrastructure in place. We have some great community partners that will be joining us as well. And one of the wonderful things about this program is that it's not limited to one area. It really is expanding across the entire state of Massachusetts. I think a lot of times some resources get clustered in certain areas and other areas remain untouched and people have to travel quite far. Our hope is to meet people where they are. Our first year at a glance provided a variety of limited legal services. We did pro se asylum. We did countless know your rights. Every shelter that we went into, we did an educational session for all of the families, and not even just the families that we served, anybody that wanted to be there, right? We did those trainings for, and those were done by a licensed immigration attorney, and they were done in Spanish and Haitian Creole and in English as well. And we do a number of community provider trainings. Over the first year, we served just under 1,000 families in a variety of different ways, and we educated nearly 3,000 providers across the state. So even if we weren't able to provide services, we met with shelter staff, we met with National Guard, we met with community providers that were really on the ground working with these families and helping them better understand the rights of the families, what they can and cannot do, and where to find some information and some resources to better help their community members. This year, we're so excited to be bringing on 16 new sub-grantees. Not all of them are new. Some of them served last year. In blue, we have organizations that will be providing both case management and legal services. So that's Immigrant Assistance Services, Immigrant Assistance Center, and the Center for New Americans. And then Agencia Alpha, Central West Justice, Northeast Justice Center, South Coastal Counties Legal Services are all providing legal services, with the rest of the providers providing case management service for these organizations, for these families. These organizations work in partnership with each other to better serve the families that are in these shelters. We will be in a whole new array of shelters, so we're really excited to kind of get started in the next few weeks as we launch these programs. A lot of these are small immigrant-led organizations. Some of them are very well-established organizations. So we're really excited to kind of really build the capacity and expand the capacity for them as well. As I mentioned also, we also launched our Immigration Advocate Legal Helpline. This came because we were assigned shelters through EOHLC for the IAS grant, but we were getting in contact with a lot of shelter providers and a lot of individuals, churches, doctors' offices that wanted to refer their clinic, their families to one of our clinics, but for some reason couldn't, either because they were not eligible, well, largely because they were not eligible. So we decided to build the Immigration Advocate Legal Helpline, and this is support through the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement in Boston and the Attorney General's office as well. So both of those came together and helped us fund this. And this is, we take voicemails 24/7. And this can be providers. A lot of times we are also receiving phone calls from immigrants themselves or the family members of immigrants themselves. And while this helpline is targeted primarily for providers, individuals working with communities, we have never turned away anyone that calls. Anyone that calls will get information, will get resources, will get connected to some sort of whatever it is that they're looking for. This is a non-emergency line, so people leave a voicemail and we call them back, or they can complete an online intake to expedite the process. And it really is aimed to expanding capacity across the legal agencies in our state. A lot of them are swamped. There truly are not enough immigration attorneys in the state of Massachusetts to handle the sheer need that is in the community right now. So a lot of them are getting countless inquiries that maybe they don't have the capacity to answer, or what was happening often is that families would call multiple agencies, kind of tying up multiple lines. And what we want to do is kind of centralize that way, and that way they can focus on doing the work, getting people consultations, getting people applications filed, helping people get connected to hearings, and so on and so forth. So we are constantly building out ways that we can expand capacity within organizations. A big part of our work is training and education, not just on the individual level, not just on the immigrant level, but on the organizational level as well. So when we go into shelters, we're educating families about what benefits they're eligible for, what they are not eligible for, and how to identify, a lot of the most important aspects of our process. We have built a website around temporary protective status that is available in English and in Haitian Creole for families to better understand the process of CPS renewals and redesignation, because many families are in that process right now where they may qualify or they are not sure if they qualify. So we have an active calendar of all TPS clinics happening in the state, and we encourage any organizations or anyone that might have some additional information to share that they want posted, we can add it there as well. We've also added a lot of fact sheets. And so these are one-pagers that are meant to be distributed widely across the community, both in providers and community-based organizations, that really break down very complicated immigration topics in ways that are easily digestible by a variety of communities. And these documents are translated in Haitian Creole, Portuguese, Spanish, and English, and we're always looking to expand our library of languages as well. Some of the things that this is covered is asylum, temporary protective status, temporary protective status, the new parole in place for spouses and stepchildren of citizens, and then notarios and the unlicensed practice of immigration law. So a little note about notarios: they're individuals that are not licensed to practice immigration law and yet are practicing immigration law, which is illegal and can really derail someone's entire immigration case, right? So we've seen these individuals that are coming into communities, coming into shelters, coming to organizations saying, I can help you. Often I can help you for a fee, or I will do this and I will send your application, and in the best case scenario, the application might be incorrect, and worst case scenario, it was never sent, and then your money is gone, and someone missed their opportunity to apply for asylum or other. So we are working actively to try to find these individuals and educate the community around how to identify a licensed immigration attorney or a DOJ accredited rep that can help you with your case. We also offer the Introduction to Immigration series. This happens a couple times a year. It's a 4-part, 1-hour lunchtime series for community-based organizations providers. They're $15 each, $40 for the training, or free to any member organization or anyone that is unable to kind of meet that cost. And these cover the basics of immigration. So if you have staff or individuals that are new to the process and are starting from scratch, this is where I would recommend that they get that introductory conversations. It's kind of like a tapas menu of a lot of the most important things around immigration law and how it pertains to working with families. Our 40-hour immigration law training course is for those who really want to dive deeper and are seeking to get a DOJ accredited status. We support individuals that are backed by a nonprofit that are willing to kind of sponsor them in that process. And that would allow that individual to then be able to support families in a deeper level when it comes to their immigration, helping them fill out forms, helping sign off on certain documents. And then we also make trainings as customized as needed by the organizations. So we encourage individuals to seek out, to reach out to us if they are seeking any specific types of trainings, whether it's on something very specific like asylum or temporary protective status or eligibility of benefits. We encourage you to just get in touch. And we are currently also running a fellowship for community organizers. The application is due on the 29th, so that's about a week from today, I think. Oh, exactly a week from today. And this is for individuals that want to learn about the basics of community organizing and really getting out in their community and kind of building that change. And in speaking of getting engaged, we're always encouraging both individuals and organizations to get involved with us. There's a variety of ways to do that. You are able to help either by joining an IAS clinic, by volunteering at a clinic, to helping families in shelter complete their immigration paperwork under the supervision of an immigration attorney. And you can help by volunteering at a citizenship clinic, also under the supervision of an immigration attorney as well. We have our weekly email bulletin where we share out, or bi-weekly or so, email bulletin where we're sharing out information about rallies, upcoming changes in legislature, upcoming changes in some immigration law and other really key information. We also try to uplift as many community-based organizations as much as we can as well. We have a petition, our social media campaign, and then of course, we are always accepting individuals to join our AmeriCorps program, and donations always support the work of immigrants and refugees and supporting this one. So I will be happy to answer any questions. I know that there are a lot of different programs that I covered. I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. People have questions? I can't see people's hands because of the screen share, so if people have questions, just speak up.
No? Oh, sure.
There we go. Okay. Questions, comments? All right. Stephanie, thank you so much. We'll send that information around as well. All right, and moving to our next speaker, we're happy to have Paul Belfonte here. Paul was himself born in Italy and came to the United States when he was about 18 months old and began his professional career as a fine arts after graduating from the Rhode Island School of Design, before beginning a long career in the educational publishing industry. And really, while doing that and wanting to stay connected to his creative past, Paul joined the board of City Without Walls, which is a nonprofit gallery, an emerging artist support organization based in Newark, New Jersey. and served for over 25 years, with about half that time as the board chair. And while he was there, he co-created Art Reach, which was an arts education program. A great idea that paired working artists with high school students interested in the arts in a mentorship program. And that program was awarded the Citation for Excellence 3 separate times from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. In 2016, he came to Massachusetts, and since doing that, Paul's been involved in other volunteer activities, including the Friends of the Fells. He's been a board member of the Fort Point Art Community, and he and his wife, Michelle, joined the Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church in 2017, and through the church began volunteering with local groups to help settle asylum seekers and refugees into the local communities. In 2022, he helped to found the Immigrant Support Alliance, which continues this work through partnerships with various area immigrant resettlement organizations. So, Paul, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. And one thing I want to say about Stephanie's presentation and Mira, I did take their training, their basic immigration training, and it's really excellent. You learn a lot. And have a lot of resources at your fingertips, so to speak, and I highly recommend it. So let me share my screen, and can you all see it? Oops, I didn't hit share. Okay, can you see it now?
That's
Yes.
better.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the Immigrant Support Alliance, what are we? Why isn't it advancing? There we go. So the mission is, we're a small group. We're sort of like the opposite end of the spectrum of Mira, which operates, at scale on a kind of a macro level. We operate on a very micro level. Our mission is to assist refugees and asylum seekers becoming independent and contributing members of our communities. It's an all-volunteer network. There's nobody who gets paid. But we assist new arrivals, either individuals or families, to gain footholds in our communities, navigating housing, food, healthcare, transportation, education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. English lessons, employment, all the many, many things that a new arrival encounters as they're orienting themselves and trying to get their footing. And we've served clients from around the world, and we work through resettlement agencies and other groups to identify people in our area who need our assistance. So we function as a nonprofit. So most of the founders of ISA were previously associated with an area resettlement agency. It was a faith-based agency and we were part of sort of a cluster of other faith-based organizations that got together to raise funds and support, individual clients. And without getting into the details, the organization that we were associated with was not really functioning great. And so over time, after trying to address some of those issues, we also found ourselves partnering with other organizations and made a decision that, it made more sense to us to be more independent, have direct control over our finances and our messaging and our delivery, and also then being able to partner with whichever resettlement agency we happen to match up with best at any given time. And also, frankly, to frame ourselves, to brand ourselves in a way that wasn't necessarily faith-based. Many of our members are members of churches or synagogues or whatever, but there's a lot of people out there that don't go to church that still would like to be interested in helping with this kind of work and kind of feel like something that's branded around a faith organization feels a little intimidating or uncomfortable for them. And so we've been very open to everyone. We've gained members, as a result of that. People who said, I just wasn't really comfortable with that, but I feel more comfortable with the way you guys are set up. We were able to get off the ground and function as a nonprofit very quickly through an organization in Melrose called the Community Coalition of Melrose. And that's an umbrella 501c3. And so we are able to be an affiliate organization of that. So we're under that umbrella and can operate as a nonprofit. People can give us money, it's tax deductible, all those kind of things. And the Community Coalition takes care of accounting and filing 990s and all those other things. And as we grow, we will probably become our own 501c3, but this allowed us to get off the mark and continue our work without having to go through that process and sort of delay our active engagement. So we just have a basic 3-tiered structure. I chair the steering committee currently. It's 6 members of the leadership group, and we assure, alignment to mission. And we meet outside of regular meetings to deal with the day-to-day needs and things that come up and make, those kind of decisions. Then we have a monthly meeting with our larger membership, which, usually consists of about maybe 15 people that attend those meetings regularly. And we exchange information, we update what's going on with our clients, we bring issues about, decisions. Do we want to take on a new client? How do we want to make some decisions about whether we're going to spend money on certain things, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have a much larger network of on-call volunteers that on an as-needed basis, we'll step up and do things like provide rides. A great example of that is that we had a Ugandan family that we were supporting some years ago, and the mother wanted to get her GED. So after she attended classes, she needed to take the test, and the test, she was in the Melrose area, but the test was up at I think Salem State or community college. And so we had a whole network of people who, one person would drive her there in the morning to take the test, another person would pick her up and drive her back because she had to go 4 different times to take the different tests. And that's just one example of that sort of thing. People will sometimes, if a client is working really long hours to get on their feet, maybe we'll provide some meals once or twice a week for the family, that sort of thing. And so, or, clothing, things like that. And we meet regularly on the first Tuesday of the month here in Melrose. We've served clients from around the world, from Uganda, Nepal, Afghanistan. We're currently very frustrated waiting for the arrival of a client from Haiti that we were approved through USCIS over a year ago, and we still have no idea when she might show up, but we're waiting. And our partners, we're currently working with the Catholic Charities. Our client is being trained in employment services through Jewish Vocational Services. We've worked with the New American Association, and we have contacts with IINE and Accentria, other organizations that we see as the potential to partner with going forward. We are a small or all-volunteer organization. I have to really emphasize this because we need to work through a larger resettlement organization because we don't have the expertise for legal issues, case management, if there are mental health issues, other specialized services, and so forth, things that will come up that we need that framework, that infrastructure to manage certain things that we as just a group of volunteers are not capable of doing. In a way, it's funny because our profile has been raised over the last year. We usually fly pretty far under the radar because we handle one family at a time or a family and an individual. But last January on Martin Luther King Day, we organized an information forum for anybody who might be interested in being a host, opening up their home for a client. And I'll get into the details of that a little bit later. We did some promotion around it, and without getting into all the details, somebody made that information available to Laura Ingram, who highlighted us in one of her national broadcasts in not a positive way. And so that generated some very vitriolic emails, but it also generated some very positive responses and media attention and so forth. It's gotten us membership, it's gotten us donations, things like that. But it's also made us in some ways seem bigger than we are. We're a very bespoke organization that we really focus on the needs of, one family at a time, or even just an individual or two at a time, depending on what our capabilities are. Because financially, we just don't do a lot of fundraising that would allow us to operate on a bigger scale and have, paid staff and things like that. But so we have two support models. One is the partnership with financial support. So currently we're supporting an Afghan family of 4 parents and 2 young children through Catholic Charities, and they approached us with a scenario that said, "Hey, we have this family, and we have some funding that will pay the rent on an apartment for a year. If you're willing to be the guarantors on a lease." And we said, "Sure, we can do that." And we can provide some supplemental funding until the parents are working, but a large portion of those expenses are covered through funding that came through Catholic Charities, whether directly or through another source, I'm not sure. And so that allows us to really do all the other things that we do without having to be responsible for, $2,500 or whatever it would be rent, which would just deplete our funds in a very short period of time. Usually when it comes to an individual asylum seeker, especially because they don't get the kind of financial support or other benefits that a refugee would get, then we look at the host home model, where we ask people to open up their homes to a client. Usually we ask for a 3-month time commitment that can often turn into 6 or 9 months because everybody's getting along and the person just sort of becomes part of the family. But the hosts are expected to provide a roof over the head and a place to sleep and nothing else. I emphasize that because, providing that space is a really important and really valuable contribution, but the rest of the group, provides all the other stuff: transportation, English lessons, help with employment, all those other things that I mentioned before, and we'll show again. The hosts are not expected to do any of that. They can get involved in some ways if they want to, but we try not to place too much of a burden because they're already contributing a lot. And we also give them a small, we call it an honorarium or something like that, just usually to offset, additional costs of utilities by having another person in the house. So we just don't want it to cost them money to do this because they're being incredibly generous opening up their home. And so again, some of the, services that we provide, all the things you would expect, one of the things at the end there, bureaucracy navigation, can be one of the real things that, dealing with DTA, dealing with some of the other organizations that are overburdened and understaffed, trying to get things sorted out as far as getting into employment training programs, anything like that. Here's a pro tip. If you need to get something done at the Social Security office, do it on Patriots Day, because everybody's focused on the marathon or other, reenactments, and all the state offices are closed, but the federal offices aren't. And I went there and got the whole family set up with Social Security cards, and there was no waiting. So what do we gain from it? Empathy. Just there's a real appreciation for what our clients have gone through, the challenges they face, what drove them to leave their home country, understanding, everything that they're facing, and then adjusting to life in a new and unfamiliar country and culture. A real appreciation for their resilience, the courage they show, their ability to power through setbacks. It's really pretty amazing how determined they are to succeed. And obviously exposure to people of different cultures, languages. We share food ideas and other experience. And we develop real friendships with our clients. I think everybody that we've supported, even ones who haven't totally stayed in the area, we try to stay in touch with and get together with, and remain friends with. And I think this last item is really important. The people who volunteered together to do this work, we've developed really deep friendships with our fellow volunteers. It's been a really rewarding experience. It's a lot of work and it can be really hard sometimes and emotional, but it's well worth it. So here are just some of the resources. Mira is one of them here. There's a lot of other organizations, that do what we do. There's advocacy organizations and resettlement organizations and so forth. One of the things, where is it? The Community Partners Directory from the Office of Refugee and Immigration is something that, when sometimes I will get or we will get contacted by groups or individuals that we are not set up to help. We're not an emergency overflow shelter and that sort of thing. And so I often respond saying, I'm so sorry, we can't help you right now. But here's a link to the Community Partners Directory that has a really extensive list of organizations throughout the state, or at least the greater Boston area. And it's actually throughout the state, sorry, that people can maybe find somebody close to them, an organization that actually can address their immediate needs. And that's about it. I add this photo. I won't be able to send it around with the deck, but this is the Ugandan family of 5. When they first arrived, that the little girl on the left was about, I think, 5 years old, and the woman, the mother, works as a home health care aide and works incredibly long hours, but she got on her feet. She rented an apartment in Melrose for a number of years, and then actually recently bought a home out in Templeton. And so most of the family moved with her, but the young man, the tall man in the back, young man, stayed with a friend in Melrose to complete his last year of high school, and was a star on the soccer team and the track team. And this is a photo taken when the soccer team, I think, beat Bill Ricca to advance to the state semifinals in Division III. And it was great to see the whole family together and cheer on Jovan. So that's just kind of an example of how we stay connected to our clients even after they're independent of us.
Oh, thank you. Anybody have questions, comments?
I have a quick question. So Paul, that last photo made me think in terms of like educational resources for the families that you interact with. Are those the organizations that you work with? Do any of those serve that area?
Well, one of the things that we do if there's children involved is help them get registered in school, making sure that, we help navigate. Right now, we're blessed that one of the family that we're supporting right now is in Medford, and one of our volunteers lives very close to them and has children about the same age. So she's able to help us navigate all the things, necessary as far as school registrations and things like that. So we do have people within our volunteer group who know their way around the school systems, and, depending, and sometimes there are special needs from an education standpoint, and helping to, navigate an IEP program or something like that. We definitely get involved on that level.
Great, thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. I want to thank all of our
Mary, one
presenters
quick
today. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead. Did you have a
Sorry to
question?
interrupt, I lost my mic. Just got out of the hospital yesterday. For those of you that are in our other group, the opioid task force, want to remind everybody in Woburn this Thursday coming up, not tonight, but next week at 6:30, we're holding our annual vigil on the Common to commemorate with Opioid Awareness and Overdose Awareness Week. We'll be giving out samples, xylazine test strips, courtesy, of course, of DA Ryan. We're going to be giving out the xylazine and the fentanyl strips, along with a bunch of items from Mass Department of Health. So hopefully I'll have my voice back by then. That's 6:30 on Woburn Common next Thursday evening.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other events they want to share with folks? Okay. Well, thank you. We will thank you again to our presenters. We will see all of you next month and enjoy these last couple of weeks of the summer. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.